Peace, peace, peace to the gods and lords of planet Kai. Health, wealth, strength, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Abundance, joy, peace I grant unto you all through divine powers that work it within me. I command cleansing and balancing upon my energetic field. I command cleansing and balancing upon my aura. I command cleansing, balancing, and cloaking upon my chakras. Ancestors, heavenly hosts, archangels, gods and lords, ascending masters, all divine beings that are of the greatest twilight or of my best interest. I invite you into this atmosphere. I invite you into my sacred space. Thank you all for your guidance. Thank you for health, strength, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, food, clothes, and shelter. I love you all so much. Yes. So I am back with another episode of From the Beginning. Back to the beginning. Yes, so as you saw in that video, he came and he was saying what he was saying about going to the doctor. Anyway, the doctor didn't give any date. The doctor only said 2 weeks time. And the lady said before the pills ran out. The lady was in the pharmacy. I was speaking. So after we went to the doctor today, the doctor said he was proud of me. He saw changes and all these things and blase. I went to the doctor and the doctor said I look like I am even ready to go and get my visa. So he said I should go and get another amount of the pills, and I asked him how long would it be I would on the pill, be on the pill. He said 6 months. Now the first time I went, he said he would do a review and see if or when he would be ready to take me off the medication. No, we really came to talk about that still, but why I mentioned that after we went to the pharmacy, because they said, the lady said she didn't have any more supply of those tablets. So we went up to Young's pharmacy. They said they were closed off. So I said to him, he said he would give me the money, because that is what is his aim. He wants to give me money so I will be codependent on him. It's spell work and I know. So he wants to give me money. He always come offering money to bind himself to me. Some of you may not understand all those things work, but it is spell work, and I understand, and I want nothing from him, because the Most High provides for me. Yes. So I said to him, you said you were coming tomorrow, so why not come tomorrow? He said he wouldn't be able to come. I said, how won't you be able to come? And you said you were going to come the other day. I was the one who said let us go today. So he said alright, he will come tomorrow. So when we left the pharmacy, and I was about to go back home from Maypen. He was saying to me that he want me to give his, I don't even know if it is his girlfriend or whatever, but they used to be in relationship or relation both or whatever. I told him that I don't deal with that person because they are all working together to try to tear me down. I didn't tell him that, but I tell him that I don't deal with that person and he cannot give me nothing to give to anybody. He was saying he wasn't going to give me anything to give to anybody, and I said to him, no, he said to me, no, he was giving me $2,000. I said I only need fear, which is $150. He was giving me $2,000. So when he always come and he gives me money and I don't take it, he would use a forceful tactics. Take him and take this, try to force it on me. So when he said that, I said I don't need it, I only need fear to go. So he said you don't want no fear then. I just stepped away and went on. Yes. So back to where the episode of from the beginning, back to the beginning. Yes, so I've been guided to come and speak upon this instance where in previous video you may have heard me speak about one of his brother who was sent in as an handler also, which was the person we heard in previous video saying that he hasn't seen me from March, and gave me his number and said I should call him. His name is Seymour Richards. But before we speak about Seymour Richards, I would like to speak about Stanford Richards, which is his other psychopath brother, who was the one who I started to expose first, because the others of them were cloaking their energies and I only could pick up on his energy. And from my grandma was alive, when my grandma was alive, every time she took sick, every time she got sick was when he went away. So I was picking up on that energy that he was going somewhere to do something. Now why I really was saying that he was also behind it, I know that he had something to do with it, was because at the place that we were staying, it wasn't our place, and the lady that was the owner of the land, him and her were in altercation over the place. It was like a situation where he was saying, like, I think it was like the lady wanted us to leave or something of the sort, and he was saying like we were there for so long and they, because of some back issues, some back business that went on, because my grandmother used to raise pigs for the lady's son, and some altercation went down, you know. And I was there one of the day when the lady came, and she came and cooked for her husband, her deceased husband. The grave is in the yard that we resided. Oh, that psychopath uncle still lives in that yard, which is why I know also that he was connected to that woman and a part of whatever they were a part of. Yes, so she came and she cooked and gave food only to her deceased husband, put it on the grave, so she was feeding his spirit, and she came and got in spirit and was walking through the house and flashing rum and all these things and one bag of stuff. Nobody said anything until she went away. Now it was after that that my grandmother started to getting sick and all these things, because to my understanding she came and said that man, her deceased husband, on my grandmother, and also her sons were behind the scene doing voodoo on her too, because when she was going through what she was going through, her daughter, who is now deceased, which they unalived in the same, not in the same manner, but with spell work also. I will get into that. So she wasn't coming around until it got very bad, and we started to speak on it and so forth. It was a little before my grandmother passed away that she came, and she was the only daughter left living according to their plots and schemes and saying. Yes, so my grandmother got sick and they took her to hospital a few times. Every time she went to the hospital and came back, she came back worse and worse. Now, I noticed that they had put nutmeg in her mouth, and I don't know if most of y'all know, but whenever you see someone is about to die or getting old and they put nutmeg in their mouth, it's for them not to speak what is on their heart or confess of what they have done in the past, because as we know, a lot of persons confess on the things that they have done, and most people may think that those things don't happen anymore. It still happens and it's still supposed to happen, but because ones and ones have knowledge on certain things, they know what to do to hinder certain things. Yes, so that is how I know he was a part. He played a major role in getting rid of my grandma, and it was him first who I started to expose. I started to expose him on Facebook. He was there watching, and I didn't call him out exactly, but I was speaking where he could know that I was talking about him. And then after a while I started to pinpoint him out and started to let him know that it was point blank him I was speaking. You know, he wasn't answering, but he was doing subliminals. You were putting out messages and sending back, counteracting what I was saying, but he wouldn't put no name or anything. So it was from there they were telling persons that I was crazy and all these things. I also was exposing that the funeral home Wholeness Funeral Home was a funeral home that buried my grandma and my aunt, and I picked up on the energy where they were selling organs. They sold the organs of my grandma, which was what I also told the lady when I went to the nurse. When I went to the nurse, I told her that I was crying and I told her that they wanted to harvest my organs. I picked up on that energy. She was telling me about injection and all these things. So yes, I was exposing them, and that was how it led up to. Oh, after it was in March though. No, before March. But it was really in March that I started to really expose stuff. And I noticed that the community, most of the persons in the community was following me and watching. Little did I know that it was the community who was working behind the scenes trying to unalive me also, because I would expose them all. If I expose one, I would expose all. So I even was exposing a pastor. I exposed a lady who was was the mother of one of my friends who I grew up with, went to basic school and primary and high school with. And that instance, it was where she gave me money with oil on it to buy something for her, and I picked up on that energy, but I was protected and I knew what to do, and I did what I should have done to get that energy off. I exposed her. Yes, so it was shortly after that I picked up on his energy that he was about to unalive me covertly, and I had to leave. And when I left, I saw every single person, almost everyone in the community I saw that day. Every single one I saw, they were following me. I don't think I need to get back into that story. If you want to get back into that story, you have to go back, way back down on my videos. It is there where I was speaking about that, where they were trying to unalive me, vehicles, taxis, and all these things. Yes, so I would like to say also, there is this man whose name was Bobby with one eye. She's the brother of a friend of self-proclaimed daddy, which is, or should I say was, the person who was in control to some extent of the place where he is staying. I don't know if he's still staying at that place right now, but in that instance he told me that that man broke into his house and took out his silver. And he said he told him that someone broke into. He said he saw the hammer, a hammer that that person had, Bobby had, and he said he asked him and told him that they broke in and took out his silver, and he was acting like he didn't know, and he said he told him that anyone who broke into the house, he's gonna make sure that their foot swell and all these things. Now that man passed away, and I knew that he was behind it. There are many other persons that pass away which he is behind because he does insurance fraud on persons. He takes out insurance on you and work behind the scenes to get rid of you so that he can collect on it. He did the same thing with me. He took out insurance on me, which is why he was trying to unalive me, but it never worked. I am the one who is here to expose his dirty deeds. He also had friends that he attacked. He told me that he and one of his friends went to a voodoo priest, or Obeahman as you would know, and the Obeahman told his friend that he should stop doing what he was doing and all these things. A lot of persons in that community do those things. Even in this community that I am now, there are a lot of persons that indulge in Obeah, voodoo, whatever you want to call it, and I know them all. I may not know them by name or whatever, but I pick up on the energies. Once I see them, I know I see it on them. Yes, so even the time when I was around him and I was being attacked, he was cloaking his energy. So I thought that it was his friend, and I was telling him that his friend was attacking him and all these things. While in that matter, the both of them indulged in those things, so it was a war between both of them. You know, he had a vehicle, he bought a truck and a van, and he didn't even get to drive, go on any journey any journey he went on. It was like they were fighting against him to kill him, for the vehicles to kill him, because that is how it is. When you are fighting against a chosen one, there are others that will be placed in your path who will fight against you. Yes, and also Stanford Richard, who is my uncle. He was after my grandma passed away that he bought a van. And the same thing happened with him. He even went out and the van caught fire. But they were saying and thinking that it was me, because I was picking up on their energy, and I know that they were in voodoo. And I was telling the handler who was sent in, which was their brother in March, the one who said he hasn't seen me since March. It was before March that he came. He came in 2020, sometime in 2021 or 2022. 2020, I don't remember, but it was some in that time frame he came, and he was here for a good while. He said he was living with a friend, and that friend was moving away, like want him to wash plate and all these things, moving like he's his woman and all these things, and blase blase blase. So he was saying he was building up a house and and he was staying here until he finished building the house. Now when he came, I was going through an ascension. I was being awakened once more, going through another stage of awakening. I did a ritual to open my third eye, but actually my third eye was already open. I just didn't understand how it was or how it worked. However, I got 3 coconuts and bored 3 holes in them, and got 3 candles and lit them and do it. You can check it out on YouTube if you want to, third eye opening ritual, and you will see that I'm not lying. Yes, that is what I did. Oh, it was in that same time that my no the thing about it is, I when I turned Christian and I started to pray for judgment upon my enemies, just as I told you that I sent back the spirit into the swine. I sent back whatever was sent towards me. A lot of persons were sending negative energy towards me. I sent back everything that was sent towards me. I was praying against my enemies, not knowing that my enemies were actually my families. So, but before we get to that, let's speak about my great grandmother, because my grandmother passed away before her mother, which is my great grandmother. She lived to see a very, I would say, a very old age. I don't remember at what age, but it was 90 something, I think she lived to see. And when my grandmother died, I remember there was this instance where a psychopath uncle and us went up to where my great grandmother was. He wanted to tell my great grandmother that her daughter passed away, and they didn't want him to tell her because they were saying it would cause her death. It was not long after that she passed away also, and she had nothing in her mouth for years. For years, every time I went around her, she always had nothing in her mouth, and I didn't know what was it that she had in her mouth or what was it for. But she had nothing in her mouth for years, and she always showed me love. She hardly could speak, and no, she couldn't hear well. She could speak, but she couldn't hear well. And every time I go around her, she would always give me money, even though she was one place and couldn't move. She had a different type of love for me. She would always give me money, you know. Yes, so that is how I knew that it was a ritual that they did to sacrifice me. But because it didn't hit me, it hit, when you do sacrifice to sacrifice someone in your family and it doesn't hit that person, 3 persons from that family will die. So it was my grandmother, then my great grandmother, which is the mother of my grandmother, and then my aunt. Now back to where I was saying about Seymour Richards, which was the handler who came saying that he was building up his house, and which was the one who was around when I was doing the ritual to open my third eye. Now I was just tapping into my spirituality and learning about rituals and all these things. And I wasn't doing anything bad, I wasn't doing anything to hurt anyone. I was just trying to better myself, because that is what we should use rituals to do, to better ourselves. That is what we should use it to do, not to hurt anyone. So, because I was there and I knew that Stanford Richard was doing rituals and all these things, I made it clear to Seymour Richard that I will go to the extent of breaking coconuts for him. If he ever fucks with me, if he ever fucked around, I made it clear to him that I will break a coconut for him if he fucks around. So because he saw me using those 3 coconuts, I don't know what he went back to them and said. You know, like he thought that I was sending back some energy or whatever to them or whatever, because they don't understand certain things. Either they go to their cult leaders and Ray and other men to know certain